everywhere in the country. 1 gigabit to every community. 100 megabits everywhere. These are stretch goals. As some of the panelists said, there's no silver bullet for any of them. It's going to require the FCC and Congress and state governments and the private sector and innovators to work together to hit these goals. There was another issue we need to address, which is for parts of the country that rely on universal service, where we're going to make a decision as a country that, you know what, in the way that we stepped up and paid to universalize electricity, paid to universalize telephone service, we're going to make the commitment to do that for broadband in areas where the economic model won't support ubiquity. So now we have to decide as a country, well, what does that mean? How much are we going to pay for it? And we spent time trying to analyze that, looking at what the speeds actually correspond to in the near term for usage. Whether it's what students need in school, what small businesses need for reservations or other services, what healthcare clinics need for remote diagnostics. Let's identify those core elements of broadband for our economy, for education, for healthcare, and make sure that as we move the Universal Service Fund to support broadband, that we're doing it in an efficient way where we can justify the funding. And there, we were looking at a landscape of the definition of broadband for these purposes is under 1 megabit now. In other countries that have looked at this issue, what are we going to fund? If they've addressed it at all, they've said in most cases 1, in a couple of cases 2 megabits. We said none of those is good enough for us. We've got to find a way to have the minimum level for funding be 4 megabits. And so that's the significance of the 4 megabit number. And let me tell you, it's not going to be easy to transform the Universal Service Fund to get 4 megabits to the parts of the country that have no infrastructure at all. But that's the goal. And the last point I'd make is that level is an initial minimum for funding. We wrote in the broadband plan that, like the internet, it should always evolve because technology is changing, the internet is changing. And so this initial level that we're looking at for initial funding of universal service is something that would be reviewed on a regular basis. And if and when applications develop so that our small businesses, our students, patients, doctors need more, we'll have to tackle that inside either the Universal Service Fund or other grant programs.
Very good. And this question I can go